Is anyone not ready? On the framework debate, extend that they have to defend their scholarship. This is better for education since the only impact in the round that matters in this discussion of social change. That's the case because they have conceded that they have no real world solvency. They have also conceded that mainstream frameworks are white supremacy. That's our Shaw evidence, which specifically this is good because they want to skirt talking about racism, which really shows how invisible the issue of racism is in this debate space. Their whole debate about framework is a performative link to our criticism since they say that we need to talk about topic education and digress away from these race arguments. That is practically the same thing as being silent on these issues of race. That's our Crenshaw evidence. While the affirmative team says that we should talk about these issues today, they say that we need to talk about ocean policy, which is necessarily digressing away. This shows how really invisible racism actually is. Conceded is that we are not policymakers. This means that none of anything that they talk about in this round actually is going to happen in the real world. That means that we should probably talk about social change in the debate space. Our Spanos evidence is really good on talking about how educational institutions are particularly complicit about racism, about what we need to talk about now. They say that we have not solved for the perm. They say that we have not solved for the perm, but the perm fails. There are too many drop links to justify a permutation in the 1AR. We have extended our Crenshaw evidence throughout the entire debate about how they are severing out of their reps, and then when they try to perm in the 2AC, rejecting the 1AC's claims to helping and solving oppression in the absence of discussion about system of whiteness in the 1AC means that the affirmative severs out of the representation. This is spiking out of any offense we make on case. The 1AC's rhetorical argument, their silence is an active and not passive. We are a critique on their active form on not talking about racism. Now they say reformism is good. The 1AC used to say is bad, especially when they are trying to obtain equal rights, because that is what makes the slaves the perfect moral, relying on the state and acknowledging that it has emancipatory powers. The action of ceding your political agency to the racist institution the have takes no stance in deconstructing the oppressive structure that actually emboldens it by giving it hegemonic power and saying, hey, look, you can let's leave our personal agency to the USFG to solve for these. In fact, that's our Farley 5 evidence specifically talks about that we must release all ties with the state and because we are ceding our political agency to the state, and when that happens, okay, this is problematic because any course of action that is not taking an active stance and standing against racism is perpetuating the racist active stance. Not only our alternative takes an active stance, no DA to the alternative probably means that you're going to vote negative voters. Conceded that no real world means that they get no impacts. We accept the only real world impact in this meeting, which is to take no DA to the alternative. Now on to the moral analysis on the permutation. Perm do both wasn't in the 2AC, meaning that the perm it was a perm do the plan and reject the 2AC's claim to helping and solving oppression in this debate. The absence of any sort of discussion of whiteness in the 1AC means that the affirmative severs out of the representation. Don't let them sever out of the representation. And if they truly meant what they said in their race blog, they probably could have talked about earlier in this debate. The Crenshaw and the link evidence might seem a little sketchy, but the Crenshaw and Farley evidence are really good on talking about how the Farley evidence is really good on talking about how we should not cede our political agency to the United States federal government, especially because it's racist and the USFG intends to make white people richer, because our evidence on case specifically indexed the fact that when this plan is happening, the only development and exploration that's going to happen is near white rich places, meaning that only minorities get suppressed even more because they don't have a voice, and that is exactly what our alternative unflinching paradigmatic analysis and cautionization exactly does. Unflinching paradigmatic analysis is the way in which we determine whether civil society is ethical or not, and the affirmative has determine whether civil society is ethical or not. We don't and analyze the paradigms in which this racist society operates, and we do that through a method of conscientization, which is a constant process of clarification and how me and Brian operate in this debate space and in this world and forces of oppression. And we will not be used to perpetuate the myth of the model minority, which says that Asians are well off and well going. This sort of stereotype is used by white supremacists as a tool to show that racism doesn't exist, saying Latinos and blacks, why can't you be as good as the Asians? It must be a fault with your culture and yourself that you're not succeeding in our culture. And also the perpetuation of the myth of model minority leads to another impact, which is psychological violence of Asian Americans, especially Southeast Asians, who do not get the welfare they need because the Asians are stereotyped to be all well off and well doing. No reason not to do the plan. They say that no, there's no reason not to do the plan, even if the government is racist. But as you've seen, it leads to a myriad of impacts that affects how people are around the world, and the perpetuation of the myth of the model minority will pop up other forms of oppression. Now, climate change. They say that climate change affects everyone. It is the root. They say it is the root cause of oppression. No warranted analysis on this claim means that you default to the negative analysis and undergo an unflinching paradigmatic analysis. We need to use Since there's no real impact in this debate, we need to use this debate to deconstruct the oppressive structure that is happening right now and question whether the civil society is ethical through a process of conscientization.
We have like,
I was